Tonight we're going to be focusing our attention on H.R. 5736. It was originally introduced in the House of Representatives back in 2012 with the title Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Its purpose is to, quote, make available in the United States motion pictures, films, video, audio, and other materials prepared for dissemination through press, publications, radio, the internet, and other information media, including social media and through information centers and instructors, end quote. This bill never made it out of the committee stage. Instead, it was tagged into the NDAA of 2013, where it amended the original Smith-Mundt Act of 1948. That original act outlawed domestic propaganda, but this new act makes it legal. Now, they didn't call it the Propaganda Act of 2012, but they could have. They should have. Instead, they called it the Modernization Act. It's so modern they can disseminate materials, any material they want, through the press, through social media, through information centers and instructors, teachers. This means schools, ladies and gentlemen. They have the legal authority to fuck up the minds of your children. Schools, TV, you name it, they can bamboozle it. They've legalized the lies and made the truth illegal. It doesn't get any more Orwellian than that. And this is exactly why you have to be very skeptical of everything you see on television, everything you see in your Facebook feed, on Twitter. They pick and choose the information that gets fed to you. Moo cow. It says it right here in black and white. They just copied the failed bill and pasted it into another bill. Everybody knew this was happening, but here is the proof. It's undeniable. And this explains why you won't see the majority of your friends' feeds on Facebook or their tweets, but you will see feeds from the controlled media. And that's a more diversified field than it used to be these days. There are startups, psyop organizations, companies out there that are pretending to be independent media when they're really not. Every time you see a trendy new post with 10 million views in just a couple of hours, that's controlled media. That's how you know you only see what they want you to see, because you're only free to do what they tell you. That's the message they're delivering with a text like this one. The original Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 was meant to disseminate a positive image of the United States abroad. Not anymore. Now it's being used to vilify or target and stifle the opposition. This is exactly what they're doing to Donald Trump. Every channel you flip to, it's negative propaganda. The only positive things that you see are coming from supporters themselves, not from the news outlets, and not from the controlled media. It's the same storyline we've been fed for years with Russia and China. Whatever our dear leader wants, the state-run propaganda churns out. That's what we get. We got state-sponsored propaganda, and we got secret police rounding up protesters from protests years ago, and they're laying on the charges to lock these patriots up for decades. They've turned our country into a Stasi police state, into a big giant fracking pad where you gotta suck on gas and shut the fuck up. They feed you GMOs that are literally made of pesticides while spiking your water with mind-numbing fluoride. They brainwash the children in public schools, they indoctrinate the masses with mass media, and it's all legal. This ain't just 1984, it's a brave new world. It's legal for them to trash the planet with wars and frack pads and chemical spills. It's legal for them to feed you poisons, to gas you with chemtrails. It's legal for them to feed you full of shit via the Propaganda Mainstream Media Act of 2012. Is anybody seeing a pattern out there? It's legal for them to commit crimes against you, to treat you like a slave, like a guinea pig. And it's illegal for you to exercise any of your constitutional rights. That's tyranny. That's fascism. What country do you think you live in right now? This ain't the land of the free. It's the homeland of the police state. You have no rights. If you dare to claim to have rights these days, you're labeled a constitutionalist, a domestic terrorist. The Patriot Act wasn't for international terrorists, it was for domestic patriots. That's why they called it the Patriot Act. They'll throw you in a jail somewhere, they'll dress you up in an orange suit, and they'll tell you not to worry because you've been presumed innocent. Really? Do you look innocent in an orange jumpsuit when you're being teleprompted into a secret court? You were found guilty the moment they arrested you. And they will arrest you because that's how they make their money. People are like, oh, well, the elections will change everything. We are way past elections now, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're just waiting for Terminators to roll in for the Agenda 21 mop-up. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Are you some kind of a constitutionalist? She compared Republicans to terrorists at a rally yesterday.
You never hear liberals talk about defending the Constitution or how they love America. Instead, for them, it's all about change. They call it being progressive. Do these people look progressive to you, ladies and gentlemen? Look at them. They're doing this for a reason. Liberalism is wickedness, spiritual wickedness. Sadism is a bigger problem in this country than people realize. It's not just Democrats, it's Republicans too. They're covert liberals. When are we going to get an explanation for what happens at Bohemian Grove every year? When are they going to come clean about how many members of our government are cult members? You heard that right, cult members. They're fucking everywhere, and half of them pretend to be normal, outstanding people. Cult members infiltrate, they indoctrinate, they're traitors, they're liberals. Not one liberal will talk to you about defending the Constitution. Not one liberal will talk to you about how they love their country, or how they love the principles this country was founded upon.
The only thing that has kept America free, I believe, is that these people at the top, the Nazis and the fascists who have been waiting to destroy our country, the only reason they haven't made their move is because the guns in America represent the largest single armed camp on the earth as Americans. And I say don't ever give up your firearms, because when you do, you will begin to see quickly the complete and total collapse of America to the fascists and Nazis who are running this country from behind the scenes. Somebody better wake up.
What were they? Because I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says their disposable coffins, there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me, 15 high.
Our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped from college kids in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara.
You know, our country was founded on the basis that you're supposed to negotiate back and forth with different members of different parties, and you come to a conclusion through negotiation and compromise. You don't go and just keep signing orders, and all he's doing is taking chunks out of the Second Amendment. That won't happen. And Hillary is a disaster. Hillary wants to take the guns away from everybody. I mean, Hillary's going to be worse than Obama.
Very soon you're going to find in America that the military and the police are going to be able to just not knock on your door. They don't have to have warrants. From very soon we're going to begin to see the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany is going to happen again.
Because I was in the Philippines physically the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and made himself a dictator, and the first thing that dictator did, he gave the people of the Philippines 2 weeks to turn in all their guns or it was the death penalty. Now, why would a dictator do that? Why would he make his #1 priority when he took over as dictator to disarm the public? The Second Amendment is there. It was put in there so the citizens would have the ability, if their government became oppressive, they could defend themselves against oppressive government.
Let me explain something to the New World Order, okay? You're not getting our guns. 1776 started when you tried to get them, you bastards. And as Charlton Heston famously said, "From my cold dead hand, you sons of bitches." You got that? You're not getting our firearms. Do you understand?
Is it fair to call it a conspiracy? I mean, there's a lot of people really believe this deeply, that they just don't trust you.
I'm sorry, Cooper. Yes, it is fair to call it a conspiracy. What are you saying?
They just don't trust you.
Are you suggesting that the notion that we are creating a plot to take everybody's guns away so that we can
Not
impose
everybody,
martial law
but there's certainly a
is
lot of
a
people.
conspiracy? Yes, that is a conspiracy. I would hope that you would agree with that. Is that controversial? Except on some websites around the country?
There are certainly a lot of people who just have a fundamental distrust that you do not want to go further and further and further down this road.
Look, unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all our problems. They'll warn that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner. You should reject these voices.
So who are these voices? George Washington. Who remembers George Washington? Here's what he had to say about the Second Amendment. A free people ought not only be armed and disciplined, but they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government. It's written there in stone. George Washington. Many have compared our election process to the Flint water crisis. The water pipes in Flint, Michigan are corrupted just like our democracy. Every drop of water being delivered by the municipal water supply in Flint is tainted just like our democracy. Politicians in Flint aren't in control of the water crisis, just like politicians aren't in control of our democracy. We call it a democracy, but what it is a runaway technocracy run by the corporate state. Politicians are not in control of the technocracy. Corporations are. Terminators and Skynet could spawn tomorrow, and one day they will. And what will politicians be doing then? Corporations could be gassing California with methane. Corporations could be poisoning the food supply, the water supply. And there's nothing politicians can do except to tell you to shelter in place while they quote-unquote investigate, while they run for a deep underground bunker somewhere. They'll tell you to shelter in place while they run for the hills, to their villa, to their yachts. Politicians are not in control of this country. And so if politicians are not in control, what is the point of voting for them? To make yourself feel better? To feel part of the winning team? You might as well be voting for fucking McDonald's or Burger King. Any of you cheering for a politician is just like cheering for a sports team. Somehow you're thinking victory by association. But what you need is to step off the medication.
World currency. The New World Order. Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.